After chapter 128 of Fortnite's The Apocalypse, we are left with a lot of questions. Is Percival gone for good? How's the invasion of Britannia going to work? Where's the story going to go from here? Are we going to get a time skip? These are a lot of questions that we have to ask now that part 1 of the series is officially over and done, and we're basically in the dark for what's going to happen for the next 2 weeks. Well, that's where I come in. I'm going to give a couple of ideas as to where the story can go from part 2 onwards and how the rest of the story could be divided and changed up as we go along. But if you like what you see here, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps and ensures you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel. And it keeps me motivated to keep making these videos for you guys, as these are a lot of fun for me to make and I just like talking about this series. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So let me just address the very first thing that is coming to everybody's minds after the announcement of part 2. Are we getting a time skip? And honestly, this is something that we've all kind of speculated about since the Leonis arc. Primarily when we met Guinevere. When Guinevere was talking to Lancelot, we were told about multiple instances where they would meet and it would be different years, like skipping over and over every single few years for the different meetings between Lancelot and Guinevere. And I think this is going to be a decent outline as to how the story is going to progress in terms of the time skip. If we jump forward at all, I'd say a good point would be maybe like 3, maybe 4 years. That would be the max. We could end up skipping over a few months to even a year, which would also be a relatively good point, because that would be enough time for the rest of the group to start to grieve and start to move forward with whatever mission they have, and we go to explore the other kingdoms, or we end up fighting against the different forces of Camelot as they begin their invasion of Britannia, which that is another portion that I'll get into in a second. The idea of there being multiple time jumps or time skips in the series has been around for a little bit. However, maybe 1 or 2 max time skips seems like a good amount for a story to go for, as I think too many time skips could just diminish some of the things that happen in the story, as a lot of things could probably happen off screen that we'd have to spend some time explaining or just flat out ignoring. So I think 1 time skip for part 2 is the most likely scenario, and I say maximum amount we could skip is 4 years. And yes, a good portion of that is so Guinevere is no longer 12. Kind of avoid any future weirdness for a lot of people that still talk shit about the series from that one instance alone. But another about the time skip is so that we could see how much the main characters have changed and grown or even regressed, changing their personalities or ways they go about things with the death of Percival, who is essentially the group's hope and overall positive energy in this group, keeping everybody optimistic. And that's one of the reasons why Lancelot has grown so fond of him. And with that gone, it'd be interesting to see how the rest of the group interact, if they're even together at all. Because remember, before this whole Demon Realm arc happened, they were all supposed to go their separate ways, with Percival's group supposed to go to the Fairy King's Forest, Lancelot to go back to Benwick, and Tristan and his group to go find Old Camelot and see if there is a portal. Though with the portal in the Demon Realm, Tristan's group seemingly accomplished a mission so they can go back to Leonis, or they can send scouting parties to Camelot, or the portal will end up disappearing within the time skip and they have no way of getting to Camelot and just have to sit back and wait for wave upon wave of attacks from Arthur. Time skip is a good way to see how the shape of Britannia has changed over this specific number of time that we'll get to see within the next chapter. As with an invasion, a full-on war, we now actually get to see how this affects all the different towns and villages between the differing kingdoms, and how this affects the citizens and what the 4 knights and the differing factions will do about it. If they get caught in the conflict, what sides will they join, who will come out on top? Because the time skip will show us the Sins in action, the 4 knights in action, and some older characters coming back into the fray, primarily from Leonis' side most likely. So the time skip is very likely the most likely thing to happen, and those reasons are reason enough for us to see how things could progress for the story and why this would be a good thing, and I feel like that's the direction we'll go for. Next up is Arthur's invasion of Britannia. How will that play out? Will it be an all-out war, or will it be strategized different towns that Arthur will send his forces to and then cause Leonis, Benwick, Fairy King's Forest, and Demon Realm, maybe even the Celestial Realm, to divide their forces? And how strong will they be in comparison to these other factions? Because the Chaos Knights, a lot of them were taken out by Percival, who was relatively weak, or the 4 knights, who were stronger than all of them, basically in this one instance with the previous arc. So I think outside of the 4 evils, Arthur will have some intense training or do something to power them up. That is a very likely possibility. But with how Arthur is taking portions of Britannia and bringing them into Camelot in his own separate pocket dimension, I feel like we'll see a very different Britannia. Arthur being more forceful and a lot more open about the fact that he's taking portions of Britannia away for his Eternal Kingdom, and thus more or less getting more and more people to try and go to Camelot. This will also give us a good opportunity to see how all the other kingdoms are reacting to this invasion or war, and we'll most likely get to see the rest of the sins in action in this post-time skip, because we were promised Bon, King, and Diane. We have not seen them yet, and Merlin is still MIA, so we have no idea what happened to her. And speaking of characters that would actually need to be reintroduced or have more focus in the plot, characters like Mael have yet to show up, and I feel like that was something we were building up to, and I feel like he helped train Gawain into better utilizing her magic in a more proficient manner to help her with her charge and build up for her buff form. And also, recently revealed, Gawain's magic name is called Dawn, not Sunshine, so it could be something entirely different, or it could just be a renamed version of Sunshine. No clue, that's something we also need addressed. We could also see characters like Griamore back in action, which I know there are a few Griamore fans out there, if you exist. Dahlia and Dubs can show back up because they were still alive at the end of Cursed by Light. Not to mention, we'll get to see more of Bon, Diane, and King at some point. Gother will show back up. More prominently, what people have been waiting to see for a long time, King and Diane's children. And it was confirmed in an interview about the Seven Deadly Sins Origins game. King and Diane had 7 kids, and one of them is Tiore, who is the 7th child. So, we can most likely see Tiore and the rest of their kids to show up in this time skip and see how they interact with the rest of the group and how Nakba will introduce them, if he's going to introduce all of them and give them their own unique personalities, as well as different fighting styles and magical abilities. Though that'll be a nightmare and a half to introduce like 7 new characters, plus older characters and other new characters for the opposing sides. It's a lot. He might be able to do it, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. And the last thing we have to address, when will Percival be revived? This is something that, while this entire chapter was very devastating, we see Percival die, there is always the possibility that he will decide to come back to help his friends in their time of need. Because remember, he does have a personality and an ego, so even if he goes back to where he originally came from, I doubt he'll just have his memories and everything erased, and there'll come some time where he'll have to come back and help everybody crawl out of his grave and go and help them in their time of need. The question would be, how long are we going to wait for that? And I said this in my chapter review, I'd say we'd have to, at the bare minimum in terms of chapters, we have like half a year at the minimum, with no Percival, no revival, or even hints of him coming back, to really seep in the gravity of the situation, the time skip, make it seem like he might actually not come back. We could even go a year with no Percival. That's a possibility also, and it'll give more characters the time to shine, and maybe we'll have the focus shift over to Lancelot or Tristan or Gawain with more main character roles. It'll be an interesting way to go about the story, and there's also the possibility that Nakba is going to make this multiple parts of a story, with each part focusing on each individual night of the apocalypse. That's a possibility. I doubt that's going to be the case, but that'd be an interesting way to tell a story, and Four Knights can go on a bit longer if he has ways to tell the story however he wants to, but I don't think it's going to be too long. Lastly, I want to just say this real quick. Apparently, Nakba Suzuki stated right after chapter 128 was released a very interesting author comment, stating that the story will take a new direction starting next chapter. There will be more intense things happening. Do look forward to them. Now that is something I'm excited for. If the series didn't already have intense moments and says things are going to get more intense and going into a direction, this really sells this whole new era or new part of the Four Knights story. There is going to be a lot of stuff we have to look forward to, a lot more things that could end up happening that we don't expect or anticipate, and just everything in this video that I've stated so far could just be scratching the surface of what we will see in the future of the story. I expect more intense action scenes, some more character drama, and obviously some growth with the main cast of characters that we do want to see, and some proper build-up to when and how the Four Knights are going to eventually take on Arthur, and showcasing more of Arthur and his forces being a very prominent threat to not just the main cast, but also to the Sins and Britannia as a whole. and I for one am very, very excited for it. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos if you haven't already. It really helps the channel out a ton, and it makes me more motivated to try and make more videos for you guys.